Hello, everyone, and welcome to a live episode of the Leveraging AI podcast, the podcast that shares practical, ethical ways to leverage AI to improve efficiency, grow your business, and advance your career. This is Isar Metis, your host, and this is a very interesting and fascinating episode. First of all, because I literally just made it to New York 15 minutes ago, and I had to get into an office. We work and find a space and set everything up, but I'm ready and we're good to go. So I'm happy about that. But I'm a lot more excited about the topic of this episode. So most of my episodes are very practical, tactical ways on how you should leverage AI in your business. And I host amazing experts that share their skills and what they're doing with AI. Today's guest, Izzy Bedoya, is the only person that is coming on the show twice. So she's the first one ever to come in for the second time. That tells you how much I trust what she's doing. But also, the other reason I'm very excited about today's show is a lot of you are asking me on LinkedIn and when you're chatting with me, or people who meet me in conferences that I get to speak a lot on, like the one I'm doing in New York today and tomorrow. People ask me for actual use cases. Yes, these things that you're sharing are amazing, but give me some hard numbers, like what results are people achieving with the processes that you're sharing? And so I lucked out because we scheduled this, I don't know, a month ago, but Izzy yesterday or this morning posted about her results with using this system. So here are some hardcore numbers for you on what using automation together with AI can do for your business. So in 2022, Izzy had a team of 12 plus people, and when I assume plus, and I'll ask you in a minute, Izzy, I assume that's like subcontractors and people who are not
Yeah.
actually core to the team. And she went down to a team of 3. So that's a 75% or even more downgrade in the size of the team, and her revenue tripled. So that tells you that this whole AI automation thing actually works. And if you see the trajectory in what she's doing in 2024, you will understand that it didn't stop in 2023, it just keeps on growing. And all of it, literally 100% of it, is built on building an automation machine that runs with a lot of AI capabilities in the background. If that's not exciting to you, I don't know what will be exciting to you. So hence why I'm really excited and humbled to have Izzy on the show again. Izzy, welcome to Leveraging AI.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited for this conversation.
So really, like I said, I lucked out. You literally just put out this post on 2022 versus 2023. And I think that would be a great starting point for people. And to give people understanding what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about exactly what Izzy did between 2022 and 2023 in detail. So you can do this in your business as well. And so let's really start with how you got started, like what processes you had in your business and how were they working pre-AI very quickly. So then we can figure out what you actually automated, and then we can dive into the how, which is going to be the majority of the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. In a nutshell, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. But in a nutshell, basically, in 2022 and even since 2021, my main business has been like a Go High Level agency, right? So I'm like reselling Go High Level, which is like a CRM funnel builder, etc. And in the past, I had all these like little like one-off offers too, which created the need for more team and more subcontractors and stuff like that. So one of the biggest things that I did is I just simplified everything and just focused on that one core offer. And then we'll probably get into this like along today. But one of the biggest things that I did was I actually automated the entire client fulfillment process so we could actually sell the SaaS at a higher price point and still be able to deliver results for clients in an automated process.
Cool. Really, you had a SaaS slash service business around it that is now
Mhm.
mostly automated. If you have, so again, to put things in perspective, you're talking about having 50 plus clients a month
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah, we're
served,
building like
onboarded and served by a team of 3.
yeah.
So again, just putting things in perspective, that's not standard. Let's put it this way. I can use other adjectives, but I'll be very subtle with what I'm saying. It's incredible. So let's really go to what processes you started with. And you know what? I'll actually rephrase the question. What processes should a person start with? Like, how do you pick the best processes to start with AI automation? if you run a business, and again, you're doing everything in your business, you're doing marketing, you're doing prospecting, onboarding, sales, support. You have a lot of back-end documentation that needs to be updated all the time because you're giving it to your clients as a way to use the systems and processes you're giving them, and probably resell and upsell. So literally everything a business has. How do you pick the first thing to start with? Because if you look at the whole board, you're like, holy crap, I don't even know where to start. It's so scary, so I'm not going to do anything, which I'm sure a lot of people are in that situation right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. And typically, I think the go-to that most people go to is wanting to monetize or wanting to automate the sales process, which makes sense, right? You want to automate the sales process, you can generate more revenue. I think for this time around, though, what I did is something different. I actually started with client fulfillment because I realized that if I do want to grow a business, the biggest bottleneck is going to be client fulfillment. So if I start growing the sales and start bringing in a bunch of clients and we don't have the client fulfillment streamlined, it's going to be a nightmare. And that's pretty much what happened in the past year when I was actually having to manage a bunch of people and everything. We just didn't have a streamlined client fulfillment. That was one of the biggest headaches.
Okay, so by the way, I agree with you 100%. I think onboarding clients to disappointment is a really good recipe for failure in the long term because you're going to get really bad reviews and bad press, and you won't be able to grow your business. So client fulfillment could mean a lot of things for a lot of people, but let's stay within the realm of what we're talking about right now, which is SaaS and service versus products, which I'm sure becomes a lot more complicated. So in this world of, okay, I'm delivering a SaaS product and I am providing a service around my SaaS product, what are the things you built as automations with AI in order to do this client fulfillment?
So pretty much the entire client fulfillment journey. So when a client comes in, we build out their funnels and we build out for example, we build out their bootcamp funnel or like a virtual event funnel. We build out all the automations for that funnel as well, like the email marketing, the SMS reminders, like all of the automations that you could think of. Also tracking the lead from opt-in to putting them in a pipeline and seeing the journey. So it was really like that was essentially the offer. So then I had to figure out how to automate that whole thing. And I was able to do it inside of Go High Level and also using custom GPTs. So now whenever someone comes in, we have a video that shows them how to, and it's all automated, right? So they get an email and it's, hey, welcome, you're in step one. Here's the link for the GPT. Here's the link for the video. And then here is a link where you can actually submit your answers in this form. And when they submit their answers in the form, which the GPT gives them exactly what they need to put in, the reason why we didn't automate the GPT transferring to the form is so that the clients could have a little bit of freedom to update their copy before it gets on the form. When it gets on the form, then it automatically gets populated on the funnels. And then now I have Juan, who's like a member on our team. Juan goes in and just makes sure that the pictures are good and the branding colors are good and everything. So we're able to build funnels really like super fast. And when they fill out the form, it also auto-populates their emails, their SMS, it just literally just does everything. So it allows us to help clients faster. Now, one thing that I didn't do and I should have done, but we just helped one of our clients do this, the actual videos, I actually filmed those videos, but we just had one of our clients do an entire course from end to end using AI, like an AI avatar, an AI voice, and Canva for the slides.
Okay, so let's break this down for people, right? So the very first step that you must do is to map your client journey, right? You need to actually know all the steps. It's not, oh, we know, like we talk to them over the phone, they do the thing. Like you have to know the steps in a very detailed way and
Mhm.
document it very clearly. Once you have that, you really can start breaking this down and how you automate each and every one of the processes. So those of you who don't know what Go High Level is, it's it's like a one system does it all thing, right? It's a CRM, it's an email automation, it's a landing page platform. It does everything you need in order to engage with prospects and customers. And but you can do this with other platforms, right? It doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you have these functionalities. And really what you're saying is you built the entire onboarding process from including all the how-tos. So for every step you put the client, in addition to an email, there's a video, there's a process, so people cannot get lost. And like you're saying, you're feeding them with everything ready. Like you don't expect them to understand what to do. You're like, okay, copy this from here, put it in this thing there, and then you will get the results you need to get. So let's talk specifically about the combination of GPTs and how this works with, because on one hand, you have an email automation. I think everybody knows what that is and how it works. On the other hand, you have a GPT. I'm like, okay, those of you who don't know GPTs are like mini customized versions of ChatGPT that are tailored to do something very specific. You give them instructions and they can do those instructions time and time again, very consistently, with or without specific inputs from the user. So you can tell it as part of the instructions, ask the user for X, and then it will give it to you, and so on. So how do you connect the two? What are the touch points, and how did you develop that whole system?
So it was a lot of, it took me like 4 iterations to get to this stage. Every time it was just figuring out one step further, how can I make this process smoother? And one of the things that I realized was that this happens pretty much in like any coaching program, especially. People join, they don't take action, they don't do anything, and then you want them to take action. So then I figured, okay, maybe it's just because they don't know, how to log in or whatever the case is. And so I really had to like think about how to simplify it and how to like really dummy it down to the point where it's like they know, because it's 3 components, right? It's a GPT, it's a form, and it's a video. How do they know at any given moment what resources to use and all of that? And then I just thought about how could I like super simplify it so there's no room for error. And then in addition, as soon as someone like if someone doesn't fill out the form, it also has an automated reminder like every 3 or 4 days to saying, hey, don't forget to fill this form. So it pushes them to take the action step. But really, it was just a lot of experimentation and seeing where people were getting like hung up and just also testing and trying different things to see like how could we simplify it just so that we can make the whole process super streamlined.
So the form is in the GPTs. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yeah, so I programmed so essentially like the prompt that I use for the GPT, it's like however many steps, like four steps usually, which is target audience and then figuring out the actual, let's say it's a boot camp, so it's figure out the topic for the boot camp, figure out the landing page copy, figure out the emails, figure out the presentation slides, like all of that. And specifically for the landing page copy, I have it formatted so it gives us the landing page copy in a certain format so that we can just copy and paste that into, or they can copy and paste that into the form that they're supposed to submit. And then that form, it's called custom values. So that form has custom values that are programmed on the funnel already. So the form talks to the funnel and it just automatically populates.
So I'm still confused, and I apologize. It's probably me. Where does the GPT come into all of this? Like the
The
form is
GPT is
still
the
a,
information provider.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you basically using the GPT as a onboarding assistant
Yeah,
to
like a
help the
like a
user
coach,
figure out
really.
what to do.
Yeah, it's like a coach hybrid with a copywriter. So instead of me having to sit with each person one by one, telling them how to create their offer, how to do everything, it's all programmed inside of the GPT. So it's basically like I have these GPTs that are acting as like mini coaches slash copywriters or whatever it is that they're programmed to do.
And every step has its own GPT, so they're custom for that very specific task.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, now I understand. First of all, I think this is brilliant, right? So going back to what
Thank
we
you.
said before, it's a multi-step process. Like any onboarding of any client is a multi-step process. And you have to support the users through that process or they will fail, which means you will have less clients or you will need to invest more resources in getting happy clients.
Yep.
And what Izzy did is basically create GPTs that help in the onboarding of people into the different steps and literally tell them what to do and what to copy and where to put it in and how to follow the different steps. Can you show us an example of one of those so we can, instead of
Yeah, you want
imagining
me
it,
to share my
actually
screen
look at it? Yeah, sure.
or
Let's
just like
start
the
with step
GPT?
one and then we'll see how much time we have. But it will be awesome to actually go through all the steps.
All right, cool. Let me go in here into the automation. I'll show you the whole workflow essentially, but it's essentially taking someone from start to finish. One of what we do basically, like I was saying, is we set up like the funnels and the automations and stuff like that. So from a client, from an internal perspective, I should say, when a client comes in, they get hit with an automation, right? And in this case, if we just skip over to like step 3 is let's build the lead magnet funnel. The first step is going to actually move them into the stage so we can have a visual in the pipeline to see the lead magnet. Then we'll get an email that goes out and it's, hey, in this step, we're going to work on your lead magnet. This is the reason behind why we want to do the lead magnet. Here's the video. Here's the GPT to use. And then here is the actual form that you're going to fill out. So if I just put
I
3.
want to pause it just for 1 second
Yep.
in order to explain to people what is it that you're selling, because I think that will make a lot more sense. So Izzy is basically selling the same system that she's using.
Yep.
So everything that she's telling you, okay, create your own form, create your own onboarding, create your own landing page, create your own copy, is because she's basically selling the same solution that she's using herself. And so when she's talking about this, what do you mean my funnel? That's what we mean. But if you generalize, this could be explaining to a client any onboarding process, right? It doesn't have to be what Izzy's using this for. This could have been anything. This is basically step 1, what you need to do to get onboarded to the system. I'll give an example from my world. I'm speaking at an event in next week, and it's a very large corporation. And I had to speak with 5 different people and go through 3 different systems to become a supplier to them. And
Oh.
so this is basically what this is trying to prevent, right? It's me self-serving through an automation combined with a GPT that will help me through the process.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And like you said, you can program this for anything. This is just like our client journey. For anyone that doesn't know what a lead magnet is, it's basically a funnel. It's like a landing page where someone can give you their contact information in exchange for a free download. So essentially that's what we're trying to build. So the email that the client's getting whenever they hit this stage, and as you'll see, each stage essentially takes them somewhere else. In this particular stage, we're just telling them, please fill out the lead magnet funnel. So it's telling them this is a Loom video that's showing how to access the video in the portal. Because believe it or not, that was one of the questions that we kept getting, like, how do I access the course, or what video in the course, right? And it's like little things like that create hangups for people. So then when they go actually in the course, they go to build, and now here we're talking about the lead magnet, right? So it's step 3. And then in the lead magnet, they're going to see all of this information. They're going to see an example of how I use the custom GPT. They're going to see all this information, why they need the lead magnet. Now, we named our GPTs to have names. So it has that, oh, you're working with people effect. So in this case, we gave this Jimmy is the lead magnet one, and Jimmy is the one that's going to be responsible for creating your entire lead magnet from end to end, from the actual file that they download, from the actual emails that get sent out, the actual copy for the thing. And as you can see here, I can just put, or that should say Jimmy. But anyways, as you can see here, it's going to ask us a couple of questions. I'm just gonna say create a mock scenario just for these purposes. So essentially the client has to answer these 4 things. And once they answer these 4 things, now they don't have to think from scratch. The GPT is going to actually create all of this information for them. And it's going to give you all of this information. So as you can see here, the funnel landing page, this is now where it's formatted. It's specifically how we need it. So if you go back to step number 4 that they're supposed to take here is fill out this actual form. And sorry, not that one, that's the revisions, this form here. And as you can see here, it says, who is your target audience? And here it says target audience. So you just copy this part. And it says title. Excuse me. So then it says title here, and then you just copy the title here. Then it says compelling headline and compelling headline. So you're just copy and pasting. Now, the reason why we didn't automate this part, that it's pretty much just filling this out, reason why we didn't automate that is because we want people to have that like flexibility of updating whatever was created by the GPT and then actually giving us something that is something that they would actually do. And now in terms of the actual funnel, now the funnel in this case, let's see here.
So I want to pause you just for
Yeah.
that, just 1 second, for the people who are listening and not watching the screen. So what we're actually looking at is there are 2 components. One of it is a form that the users have to fill up in order to continue down the path of developing the solution that they want to develop. But it's hard, like it's questions that they may or may not have answers to. And this is obviously a friction point that may cause them to either drop and not use it at all, or ask for a refund, or just bother your customer service because I need help. I don't really know how to fill this thing out. And what the
Exactly.
GPT does is it walks them through the process. It asks them simple questions that they know how to answer, and in return, gives them exactly what they need to put in the form. And if you think about any service provider, for sure, has this kind of an onboarding process, myself included. So I provide consulting to companies. I send them a form to fill out to understand stuff about their company. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know. So developing a GPT that can help your customers answer the questions that are being asked in an easier, simpler way, and generating the responses for them reduces a lot of friction, increases the chances of them doing it successfully without asking for help. And again, that's true for any client onboarding on the planet, probably. And it's just simplifying the process. And what Izzy said about fully automation, in theory, Izzy could have made the GPT write the data straight into the form without asking the user anything in between. But the idea here is to really give, like Izzy said, instead of them staring at a blank sheet of paper, here's a starting point. Is this good enough? Is this exactly what you need? Is this exactly what you want? Is this really your target audience, or whatever else may be in your world? And then you can start with what the GPT gives you and continue from there to develop the idea or to add points, and it gives you a starting point, which dramatically simplifies the process.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the biggest things. And I think the stat is like 90% of online courses don't even get opened. And we were seeing that too. Like when I didn't have this whole automated onboarding process, I started realizing a lot of people just don't know what to do, or they get too hung up on like thinking about what to do and stuff like that. So having a GPT really helps. And it creates the whole copy, and then here it says, now that we've done this, the next step is actually, so it's, if I just open up this GPT, I can show you here that it actually has the steps. It actually has step 3, for example, after you generate the copy, create the actual copy for the lead magnet, and after that, write a 5-part sequence. So it's essentially everything that a course would have taught them how to do is just compressed into one GPT. So it even saves their time. Our entire course takes maybe about less than 90 minutes to go through all the videos. But the work that we're doing, we're saving 6 months of work for any founder that's setting up their funnels, and we're able to condense it. And the fastest we've done a setup for is, we had a client that he literally spent an entire Saturday. He said it took about 8 hours, spent an entire Saturday, filled out all the forms, did everything, and we were able to get him set up like super fast within a couple of days. So normally, if you do this the manual route, you have to hire VAs and do all these different things, and it's usually about a 6-month workload, right? So we're able to accelerate that. And then the funnel, this is like how the funnel looks. It looks like gibberish because these are all custom values that are attached to the output of the form. So whenever they fill out the form, it's going to actually fill out all of this information.
So
So
again,
even
for
this,
those of you listening and not watching, what we're looking at is a framework of a landing page, right? It's just a wireframe. That's the word I was looking for, not framework.
yeah,
A wireframe of a landing page that has multiple segments, like everything you need to have in a landing page. But instead of having the actual text and the actual content, it has these parameters in like squiggly brackets. But what happens behind the scenes is the automation, which I assume is built in Go High Level, right? So that's what actually fills up this form.
yeah, everything's in Go High Level.
So the parameters that people, so again, I'll explain the process so people understand. There's an onboarding process. The onboarding process has a GPT that walks the user on how to fill up the form that will build everything they need in a faster way. Once they fill up the form, the automation behind the scenes actually builds landing pages, emails, and so on behalf of their user so they can start marketing to their clients with the minimal amount of work, which is obviously very attractive to anyone who is trying to create a marketing automation process.
For sure. Yeah, that's the whole idea. And yeah, that's essentially what we were able to do. We just did this across 3 or 4 different funnel structures. So like a lead magnet, a low ticket offer, roundtables, and high ticket offers. And it's the same process. They just watch a video, use the signed GPT and then fill out whatever form they need to fill out. And then also for revisions, just to make it easier for us as well, we streamlined revisions so that they send us everything in one place, and it cuts out a lot of the back and forth. So yeah, the whole thing is very streamlined.
So I want to touch on 2 points, and then I want to ask a follow-up question. The 2 points are, again, if we generalize this to any universe in business, what a process like this enables you to do is to allow people who have zero technical skills to set up really sophisticated things. Because what's happening here is, and those of you who don't come from the marketing world, take it to any other process you do know, whether it's a logistical process or an installation process or a setup process, whatever the case may be. But these processes require you to understand how the tools work. In this case, go high level. You need to know how to create landing pages. You need to know how to create email automations. You need to know how to define funnels. You need to know how to tie them all together. What Izzy and her team did circumvents all of that. You don't need to know anything. All you need is to answer questions in a form that you're being helped to do by a GPT, and then everything else happens automatically behind the scenes, which explains what we said in the beginning, going from 3 clients a month with 12 people to going to 50 clients a month with 3 people, because everything else just happens. Now, so that's what I wanted to comment, which again, I find absolutely brilliant. I want to go back to the questions that I asked, because I think now people have a much better understanding of, okay, what are we talking about here? How do I actually do this? Like, you sit down now, this, and you've been through iterations and so on. How do you start? What was the first thing, not that you did, because I'm sure you have a lot of bruises to say that you did the wrong things the first time around. If you recommend to somebody who doesn't want to use your system, or want to use this for something completely different, what is the thing that you would recommend to me to do in my business tomorrow in order to build something like this for my business?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the first thing is like really figure out where are your bottlenecks. For me, that was it, right? The biggest thing was the client fulfillment, but figure out where and actually sit down and audit your time. Like, where are you spending a lot of time? Where are you spending a lot of time? Where are you putting a lot of resources or people or just investing a lot of money? Figure out what that is and then just start there. It's the little wins that is going to keep you motivated. I think for me, it was, like I said, I think it was first figuring out client fulfillment, but depending on your offer and depending on what you're selling also, maybe it's not starting with client fulfillment. Maybe it actually truly is starting with automation on like appointment setting or whatever it is. One of the other things that we did is when we do virtual events. So because of the pandemic and everything, virtual events got really popular. But after the pandemic, there was a decline in virtual events. And one of the things that we did, because for us, it's always been really profitable and everything. So one of the things that we did in the last boot camp that I did, I put an AI agent to call. So it was a 3-day boot camp. On the first day, they just got email and SMS reminders. On the second day, they got email SMS reminders, but they also had an AI agent call their phones about 15 minutes prior to the actual event. So the whole reason was to like get them to see, it was more of a customer support call. Hey, just making sure that you got the link to the replay from day one. Just curious, what are you here for? Doing a little bit of qualification. And then at the same time, also saying, are you going to be in the call later today? I'm going to show you how to set up AI agents just like myself. So don't miss it. So just by doing that, it increased our show up rate from day one, which was like 40% of the opted-in people, to 63%, just because we had an AI agent call and get them a little bit hyped up for the actual call. And in the process, we got customer research out of it and stuff like that as well.
Incredible. 2 questions. One, which platform are you using for the call agent?
So for the calls, I'm a licensed Air partner. I can share a link probably a little bit later, but Air is really good. They've been the first to market in the last quarter, like last year, they had a little bit of a bumpy start, but because they're first to market, they're also like the most advanced out there right now. There's other people like Simple Talk, Bland. They're all great, but I'm seeing that a lot of them are having like the issues that Air was having last quarter. They're having it now. And it's because they're just like newer technologies, right? So at the end, all these tools they're gonna work great, but you're gonna encounter bugs here and there. And it's just because it's new technology.
Yeah. So again, to explain to people, there are more and more tools out there that will call people and they sound like normal people. They're having an actual conversation. The delays are getting shorter and shorter to the point it's almost indistinguishable between that and a human. And if the call is very short to the point and simple and very well defined, like in this particular case, hey, we're having the call in 15 minutes, don't miss it. By the way, what are you in for? And you even can feed that into some kind of a summary that will be available to the person running the meeting. Then he also knows like what people are coming in for and so on. So the ability to do that exists right now. And whether it's perfect or not, and I agree with you, AIR are probably the best out there for simple things. There are better tools. If you really want to run like a full call center kind of thing, there are better tools out there. If anybody wants that, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I know a few people who actually run these kind of companies, but it's another tool in the toolbox that was not available to us before unless we had people in a call center, whether offshore or here in the US. But the ability to actually call people, either pre or post an event, to remind or follow up is now available for a ridiculous amount of money. Like it's ridiculous small compared to now I need to hire 6 people to make 100 phone calls to make sure that people show up to an event. So this is my comment. My next question after you did that is, how long did it took you to figure out what this thing should say? Like the agent that, because you script the beginning, right? And then it moves forward from there. But how did you figure out, or was it as simple as we're doing this event? Here's what's going to be cool about it. Come join us.
Yeah, like in terms of the AI agent, or which
Yeah,
part
yeah.
specifically?
In terms of the AI call agent.
Yeah, the AI, yeah. So if you're using AIR, it does actually write a script for you, but I tweaked it, of course. I wanted it to, you have to go through a lot of role playing with the agent as well. I wanted to keep it like short and sweet. So it basically just says, if you'd like, I can also show you, but it pretty much just says, thanks for joining the bootcamp. Just want to make sure. I think it says something along the lines of like, just want to make sure how you're liking it so far. Is there anything specifically that you wanted to learn? And then if they're an established business, it does a little bit of discovery. So that was just a lot of it was just testing it, just sitting there and having it call me and having these like conversations and me fighting back with it, saying, I don't have time, don't call me, and seeing what it says. And I had to call my mom, and my mom was like, she was like, oh, do you speak Spanish? And then she starts talking to it in Spanish. It starts talking back in Spanish. So it's just seeing all these like different use cases happen in real time. So I think that's been like the most important thing is just make sure that you spend time actually role playing with it. But yeah, if you don't know where to start,
I'll
Air actually gives
extend
you script.
I'll extend what you said beyond that. Like all these things, when you build them in the beginning, they have issues. Like even the
Yeah.
funnels themselves, like any automation thing you put together will break. And it will break for sure. The trick is to test 20, 30 different use cases yourself, fix the kinks you can find. So then it's going to break 1% of the time instead of 15% of the time. And it's going to allow you to onboard just more clients because you will address a lot of the issues in advance. And then when stuff happens, just find out what happened and fix that thing. And it happens to us still today, like in our automation. Oh, how did this user get this email? What the hell just happened? And then you go back and you find like a very specific scenario that you never thought of on how things might happen. Okay, so what you're saying, going back to my very first question, is look for stuff that takes you the most amount of resources to do right now, but that is repetitive slash tedious that you need to do all the time, and start automating that. So I think it's an answer. But then how do you figure out how to automate it? So let's try to make it generic and not your use case. I have a process that I'm trying to automate, and it's the thing that's bugging me the most. And I have 4 people working on this every single week, half their time. How do I get started in figuring out how to automate it and what's going to be the best tools to do that and so on? Because you obviously figured it out. So what's the thinking process, not behind the specific automation, but on how to get started automating things?
So you have to create like a roadmap, right? So when you audit your time, you audit what you're doing. You just have to actually document from point A to point B what are all the little things you did in the process. And then once you have that clear picture, first you're gonna see, oh, I could simplify this so much more. You're gonna have that aha moment of like, how do I simplify it? And then once you're in that like setting, you can then figure out, oh, I have to send an email. How can I automate that? And then that's where the curiosity kicks in, because then you go on like Zapier, you go on Make, or if you're using Go High Level, it has its own built-in Zapier type of automation thing, right? So whatever tool you're using for automation, you just go in there and you just start seeing, can I automate this? Or can I automate when I get an email response, or when one of the things that I was trying to figure out was customer support questions, right? So it's like, what is the process? They send us an email, or they send me a LinkedIn, or they send me a Slack, right? They send me through all these different channels a question, and then the questions sometimes fall through the cracks because I have to go through all the channels to find the client's question. So inside of the Go High Level automation section, I found that you could when you submit a form, you could send that information to a Google Sheets, and then the Google Sheets can then send me a reminder that, hey, a question was submitted. So just by seeing that bird's eye view of like how your process is, then you train your clients on, if you are a client and you have a question, this is where you ask it. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you'll get a response. So for your own best benefit, go through this form. And so you create your automation, and then you train your clients and you train people how to use it so that it only makes you more efficient.
That's a very good advice. And I'll generalize it again and make it very practical for people. So one of the things that I give to people who go through my course, and we have an AI business transformation course where it's 4 sessions, and they're very detailed on how to take a business on how to use AI across multiple things and how to build a strategy around using AI in your business. And it's a mix of strategy and tactics, right? It's both these things. But on the tactical side, one of the things that connects to what you do, we have a Google Sheets form that we've already created that allows you to fill in every task that you're doing as you're doing it. And then for each and every one, and it falls into categories. This could be finance, it could be marketing, sales, HR, like whatever department in the business. There's drop-down menus for all of these, and you pick the specific task you're working on. And really, you can give this to every single employee in the company, and all they have to do is click the drop-down menu, say, okay, I'm working on this, I'm working on this, I'm working on this. And within 2 weeks, you have a list of all the tasks that are done in your business according to the different departments. And then for each and every one of these tasks, there are like 5 or 6 or 7, I don't remember, drop-down menus that basically ask you the questions that Izzy related to. Is it repetitive? What's the risk of this process working not correctly? What is it going to do? How many hours a week or a month are invested in this process? And so on and so forth. And by selecting the drop-down menus, it gives this task a score of how effective it's going to be to automate it with AI or without AI. So there's actually 2 columns, because people are now, oh my God, AI can do this. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff you can do with no AI, like just pure automation. Like a lot of stuff that you said, the form fills out the landing page information. There's no AI in the process. It's just simple old school automation. So it gives you grades, basically numbers, and then you can see what's the things that you should probably automate first, basically, but what you said, the things that takes the most amount of time in your process. The other thing that you can add to that is really what's on your critical path of stuff you're doing in your business, right? There could be stuff that's taking a lot of time, but is not going to generate a lot of revenue. It's not going to save you a lot of expenses, just stuff you have to do. Then maybe it's less urgent than the other things. So there's ways to really map the processes. The other thing that we recommend to people to do, and again, I'll recommend it here, and I apologize, I'm taking time from you, but I think it's a great brainstorming session for both of us, to drill down to the process itself, like to the level of, okay, what are you doing when you're doing this task? You can ask people to record themselves on the screen if it's in front of a computer thing, or to record themselves on their phone if it's a field kind of task. I'm not sitting in front of a computer. And then you can transcribe what they're doing. And if it's a screen recording, you can grab the screen recording as well. And then you can load that to your favorite large language model, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, like whatever you like to use, and ask it to build an SOP out of it based on what people are saying that they're doing. And then it knows the time it's taking, because it knows the length of the recording. It knows exactly what the person did, which screen they're going to. And all they're doing is doing what they're doing anyway, just sharing it in words. I'm clicking on this, I'm opening this menu, I'm going to this thing, I'm typing that, I'm copying it from here to here, and it can build an SOP from you. And you can use this as a baseline to the automation. So there's multiple ways, even if you have nothing, to build the initial map. So now you can start figuring out what to automate and how to automate.
Yeah. I think that's the best way is having that like full roadmap.
So I got one more question on the practical side of the GPTs, because I find it really fascinating the way you did it. And again, those of you who didn't build a GPT, don't be afraid of it. It's literally like using ChatGPT, only telling it what will happen even if whatever different scenarios. One thing is, again, how did you get started? Did you get started like on a document on the side with a flow chart? Like, how did you get started programming it? And second, how did you test it out? Did you actually play the client again and again and again?
Yeah, the mock-up scenario, it was a lot of testing. Probably like this has been and I know earlier you said I'd probably learned a lot and I have a lot of bruises through it all. So I've had to recreate this program maybe like 4 times in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so. And every time has just been automating and making it more efficient every step of the way. So I think by doing it so many times, it just was natural. What are the steps that the client has to take? So now I thought about that and I put it in a GPT. If you want, I can share it with you, my little template thing.
That would be awesome.
Lead magnet. Here, let me pull it up.
Because I was just trying to create a very detailed, long GPT. And first of all, I found out it's limited to 8,000 characters or words. I don't remember. I think it's 8,000 words, which I did not know, but I hit the limit. I'm like, oh, I did not know these things have a limit. So now you have to go back and simplify your instructions because you literally run out of room. And I'm like, I was able to do it like 6,000 words instead of 8,000. Okay, I should have started with being it more accurate in what I'm asking for. So I'm sure, again, it will be awesome to look at your process.
Yeah, and that happened to me too. I also found when I was putting stuff in like the knowledge base, it wasn't like performing as well. All right, so this is like my custom GPT instructions basically. This is the backbone of it all. And then I just changed the instructions here. So just to go through it, I start by saying, what is your goal? What is the role? So you're going to be like a lead magnet specialist or whatever. And then I just remind them of the actual outcome that we're looking for. And then this is just like all best practices in prompt engineering. You want to give it like a raise, you're going to tell it to breathe, you're going to tell it to you're going to put, if you don't do this, you're going to get punished kind of thing, and then follow the like
sticks and carrots. Sticks and carrots.
This is all, you don't touch any of this, you just go and you just change this and this. Now anything in the exact instructions, so pretty much here, this means that this is where you actually share your input, your steps. Now, the reason why it's like in these like caret things is because it's pretty much saying like this prompt here is saying don't share anything inside the exact instructions.
Which, by the way, I assume is not really bulletproof. Like people can still get to it. But yes, I do the same thing, even though I know it's voodoo.
Yeah, there's some people that throw a lot of gibberish at it and it'll eventually crack. But for the most part, I have tried cracking these GPTs and I still haven't been able to do it. So anyways, what you want to do is you want to put your step-by-step instructions. So for example, in the GPT for here, let's just use this one for example. In this one, I'm saying like, okay, there's 4 types of posts that you're going to create. You're going to create videos, carousels, freebie, and relatable posts. And then I give it like exact instructions for the video post. You're going to do this and then here it's creating the script, right? And then you have, what's the next one after that? After that is the carousel. So it's the actual format for the carousel. So it's just very strategic, step-by-step instructions. Even though it's AI and it's intelligent and all of this, I don't give it a lot of room for it to go off on its own tangent because I want to be very very controlling of the output. Because I'm very controlling of the output, then I'm giving it like very controlled instructions so it can only generate information in the way that I want it so that I can copy and paste it really easily into whatever I'm doing. And same here, freebie post, it's gonna auto-generate. So I'm gonna say create a mock scenario using the freebie post template. I'm just gonna skip all the instructions. And it should just generate here just using all the stuff in squiggly brackets is essentially it's essentially what is generating. So as you can see now, you have something that looks a little bit more like a LinkedIn style post.
Yeah.
And then you just have to do minor tweaks. So yeah, that's how I do it. I have my base prompt here, and then I just put my exact step-by-step instructions that I wanted to do, and as detailed as possible. Now, if you don't really care for the output, if you're not trying to be controlling of the output that's generated, then you can keep the instructions a lot more. You can keep it a lot more generalized, but for my purposes, I have to be very controlling of the output because it's going to make everything else so much easier in our stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I want to say two things, and then I think we can sum it up because you and I can probably geek about this for another week. And I'm sure you have other stuff to do and the listeners as well. But the one thing that's very clear, and that relates to like the tips I gave before, you have to be highly organized to do this. Like before you get started, you need to know exactly what the outcome needs to be, what the format of the outcome needs to be, what are the steps that will allow you and or the bot to get to that outcome in a very detailed way. What formats are required? What data as an input you want to get, either from a third party or from the user, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing you need to do is to be very good at mapping out the outcome, the inputs and the outputs and the process in between. And then you can go and start building these things using either the format that Izzy shared or another format. But again, also having a structured format that you know that works is going to save you time. So it's like a prompt library for creating GPTs that works very well every time you need to create another one. I'll generalize something else. We have been creating a lot of GPTs for ourselves and literally in the process, such as you said. So we're not using it with clients, but we're using it like every time there's something we do regularly, we're like, oh, let's just build the GPT for it. And then we do, and then that's it. And then, yes, we fix it in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then 6 months later, you fix it again. But it's a very helpful way to slowly but surely remove tedious tasks from different teams in your company. Izzy, this was nothing short of incredible. I think what you're doing is amazing. If people want to follow you, find you, learn from you, take your boot camp, work with you, what are the best ways to do that?
First of all, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here for a second time. The best place to follow me is just on LinkedIn. I also started a YouTube channel. I'm posting a lot of tutorials. And if you do want to try out the AI agent, if you go to my featured, there's a link where you can download it. I included a tutorial, so it's really easy for you to set up and get started with your own AI agent. And it's a free download, so definitely check that out.
Awesome. Izzy, thank you so much. This was absolutely fantastic. I'm sure there's going to be a third time, and you're probably going to be the first one to do the third time as well. So I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. If you guys want anything like this, go check it out. There's really nobody else out there that does it better than Izzy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.